6:30. Okay, so everyone, so hello everyone. Welcome to the Gnosis Chain Hackathon workshop series. Encode Gnosis Hackathon is a full-week online event where you can enhance your skills and work on projects in the Gnosis ecosystem. Like today, technical workshops and also different mentoring sessions are accessible for all skill levels. Last week, we had amazing workshops about like on-chain betting, or for example, building dApp with Golang, or building a request network, which is a payment system. So continue to this amazing series. Today, Gísli, CTO and co-founder of the Monerium, is going to give an amazing workshop on Gnosis Chain DeFi with Monerium. Before starting a workshop, I'd love to share a few more information. Every bounty has been updated in the hacker pack. So if you are not yet, please check our hacker pack, which is going to give us like comprehensive information all about this hackathon. And another thing is, if you're not in our Discord server yet, please join so you will get full support. And also, if your teammates are not registered yet, please encourage them to finishing it so all of you can get workshop invitation and all the information as needed. Last but not least, during the workshop today, if you have any question, please drop it in the question tab so our speaker can answer after the workshop. And also, this is not the only chance you can ask question. While building, if you have any question, you can drop technical question in our Discord server so that our technical mentor is going to be helping you. So without further delay, I'd love to invite our amazing speaker of today, Gísli. Let me quickly search him here. Yes, I just sent you the invitation. So if you're also looking for where's the question tab in the live stream, if you see like a right bottom corner, there's like a question in the chat. So you can drop in the chat, or also you can ask questions in the question tab. Yeah, I'm super excited you're here today. Our hackers, as you can see, that they started getting in and getting ready for this hackathon. Today, we're going to have an amazing workshop about DeFi on Gnosis Chain. I'm super excited. So floor is yours, and I will be here like without like my screen on top, but I will be here. So if you need any support, like don't worry.
Okay, perfect. First of all, just a small shout out to the Gnosis team. As you can see, I'm wearing my Gnosis sweater. And I'm super excited to be here with you today. We are, trying to advance the field. And I am really happy to share with you what we've been building over the, last few years. And I think this is going to be very interesting for the hackers in here. So hopefully you will consider using Monerium as a tool, as one of the Lego bricks in your solution when it comes to, creating something cool for this hackathon. So maybe I'll just start by sharing my screen. So as mentioned, I'm Gísli, the CTO and one of the co-founders of Monerium. And today I'd like to talk about unlocking Gnosis Chain DeFi with Monerium. So maybe just the outline of what I'd like to cover today. So we'll be discussing, number one, Monerium and the EURe and how that relates to Gnosis Chain. There's also something very cool that I think you'll be excited about. It has to do with how you're able to use your wallet, your MetaMask, your Web3 wallet as your bank account. And I think this is a unique feature and a unique product that I haven't seen anywhere else. I want to give you a product overview of how the pieces fit together, and then tell you how we are actually putting all of this into the hands of the developers. So how we're building this API first, and how you can leverage everything that I'm showing you here. I also wanted to give you some ideas as to what partners have already integrated, how they're doing it, and maybe this leads to some of the hackathon ideas that you could then build on. I heard that last week you had Request Finance. They're one of the integrators, so I'm going to be able to show you how that fits together. And lastly, if there are any questions, and feel free to ask as much as you want. I'm here, right? Okay, so let's just go through this. So what is Monerium and the EURe? Briefly, Monerium was founded in 2016. And what we essentially do is that we issue a regulated stablecoin. So we don't really like the term stablecoins because we already have something better in Europe called e-money. You may not necessarily be very familiar with e-money and e-money issuers, but you've probably used one at some stage in your life. So companies like PayPal, Revolut, TransferWise have all relied on this financial license to deliver their products and services, mostly online. So e-money is mostly intended to be the digital cash equivalent, or a digital cash equivalent, yes. So it exists purely in a digital form, and it used to sort of regulate prepaid debit cards and prepaid credit cards. The same legislation was then used by PayPal and others to bring it online, where they, instead of issuing the e-money onto the plastic card, they would break down the holdings into a centralized database. And now we're taking it a step further, where we are actually have the same license and we have the same obligations, but at the same time, we're breaking down the user holdings onto their wallets. So private keys are used to manage ERC20 tokens, just the same way as you would think about a DAI or any cryptocurrency. So it's your money. And today we have deployed our EURe on Ethereum, Gnosis Chain, and Polygon. And you can see on the left-hand side that even though the numbers are pretty small to date, so we have a roughly 7 million euros issued to date, but it's growing really fast. So last year I was on stage at ECC, and that's where we kind of announced. And since then, it's been just a crazy journey, trying to keep up with demand, onboarding users, like all the good stuff that you'd want to see. So maybe a little bit about the sort of onboarding. So we have a special solution that I want to tell you about, where we can sort of interconnect regular payment systems and blockchains. And to be able to use that facility, you have to become a customer of Monerium. So we are under the same obligations as banks and PayPal to onboard, KYC, perform AML checks. However, you can also source your EURe on chain, like in DeFi. And we don't whitelist the holders, so they're free to transact on chain. But whenever you want to go back and forth, you will have to become a Monerium customer. So what's the situation today? We have been very successful with the Gnosis chain. Actually, the biggest liquidity exists on the Gnosis chain in a curve pool called EURe USD. So today, the Gnosis chain is sort of the home of the DeFi liquidity for the EURe. And as you can see, I don't know if you see my mouse moving, it has roughly 7 million USD equivalent, and half of it being the EURe. So you can actually start to use this pool for real world use cases, right? And this has, of course, because it's on chain, it's discoverable through aggregators like 1inch, where you can go from let's say Moon to EURe. So all of the puzzles are coming together, and you can really start to create something meaningful and cool. So here's something that people have really hard time to wrap their heads around. But we when we were starting, we didn't only want to have a regulated stablecoin, which was the equivalent of a euro in your bank account. We wanted to lower the barrier for mainstream users to use this technology. We were always of the opinion that this can either remain a fringe technology for fringe groups, or this technology has the complete potential to rewire the infrastructure for financial markets and probably a lot more. So wallets, of course, will have a huge role actually in bringing down the complexity of using the technology. But our contribution is actually to seamlessly interconnect a bank account number with your wallet address. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. And this is actually, people have a really hard time wrapping their heads around it, because it's the best way to on and off ramp. You can go directly from a bank account at a European bank to your MetaMask, to your Gnosis Safe right now. You can go straight. You don't need to go through a centralized exchange. And going this way, your wallet becomes your bank account. So I actually just have these slides here as backup, as I mostly want to be able to demonstrate. So I'm going to see if I can now. So what you're seeing on the screen should feel very familiar. You should think about this as your online bank. So on here, you have balances. Today, we only support the euro on 3 different chains. So I wish this was real money here. This is in the sandbox environment where we can simulate all the incoming payments and outgoing payments without actually risking something. But here are the 3 chains that we support. So it's going to be Polygon, Gnosis Chain, and Ethereum. And in the sandbox, these are mapped onto the test nets. This would be Mumbai, Chiadao, and Gurley right now. So down here, you can see a transaction history of transactions coming in and going out of this account. Interestingly, you can see Connect Wallet. And we do both support a browser-injected wallet and Wallet Connect. And let's just try to connect the browser wallet. So now I'm connected to the wrong network. So it's going to show me a red dot here. And I'm going to ask the wallet to switch to the right network. And right now we can see that I have a green dot. Everything is connected. We're good to go. So here's our main innovation. I can add money. And when I do, okay, so in the sandbox, there are no names, but here on my real account, it would say my full name, Gísli Kristjánsson. So this IBAN number is actually my own IBAN number. So it doesn't belong to Monerium, it belongs to me. And what that means is that I can give this bank account number out to somebody else, right? Anyone with a bank account in Europe. And so I'm going to show you here in the sandbox. I can also show you later with real money using my Revolut account to send money in 10 seconds into my wallet. But for the sake of developers here, I'm just going to do this in the mock bank. So we actually created a mock bank. And it builds on the interface of Revolut. So if you've used the Revolut web interface, this should be what you see. Don't mind the negative big number here. I'm just going to initiate a payment from an external bank account. This could be your, Santander or, whatever bank you're using connected to SEPA. And I'm going to send to Gísli Kristjánsson, and the IBAN that I'm pasting in here is the IBAN that you saw on the other screen. Just this one here. So IS23. So I will continue and I will simulate, okay, I'm sending 500 euros. And hey, thanks for, the beers. Wow, many beers. And I will initiate the payment. And then on the other side, we can see that this transaction is already in my wallet. So this is coming from the mock bank. These are 500 euros. Of course, this is happening really fast. This is on the Gnosis chain with 5-second block times. But I can promise you that this takes something like 20 seconds end to end with real money. And maybe we can do that later. So what you get here is essentially all the details of the sender. This is coming from the mock bank, but in the real world, this would say Flora, or this would say, whoever sent the money. This is the sender IBAN address. Here's the name of the person or company that sent me the 500 euros. Here's the memo that, if you were to type this into your bank, when you initiated the payment, you'll see it here. I can click on the transaction, and this will take me to the relevant blockchain explorer for me to confirm that this actually took place on a blockchain. So it's coming from the 0x address into my address, the 0x93, 500 euros. So these were freshly minted euros directly into my wallet. So the other way around is also possible. So I now have like 700 euros in my MetaMask wallet, and we can quickly confirm by going into assets. Like, this is the same number you would see. You'd see your XDAI, you'd see whatever cryptocurrency you have, and alongside it, you have the euros, right? And these numbers do match up. Now I can go into the curve pool that I told you earlier about, or OneInch, or any of the DeFi projects that you're going to be building, and use them on chain. These are regular ERC20 tokens that kind of just fit natively into whatever you're building. So once you've sort of completed, or let's say a user that needs to pay rent or needs to, transact with somebody who's not on chain yet, then we can actually go the other way around, and I can say, I want to send this money away. And I can, both send this to individuals and companies, and bear in mind, these persons don't necessarily need to know that I am managing my euros on a blockchain. Like, they're just external to the whole system. So I can either, send to a company or an individual. I can, get a list of recipients that have already sent me some transactions. And let's say I wanted to send 100 euros back for something, back to the mock bank, back to Flora, whoever. And I can also type in a reference here, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And when I initiate the payment, I'll be asked to authorize the payment, just like I am on chain, right? So I'm going to authorize sending 100 euros to this IBAN account. I'm going to send it. This will now initiate the burn process, which you can see happening right here. So it's in the process of being burnt. Now it's burnt, and what happens in the background is that we actually will initiate a payment to Flora, who has this bank account number here. So it kind of just blends the boundaries between, a bank account at somewhere and your wallet on chain. And this opens up, a number of different use cases, one of them being on and off ramping, but more so just managing your reserves, or let's say managing your fiat, your euros, alongside all your cryptocurrencies. So this is really powerful. And when, Flora, in this case, receives the payment, she will not see anything about Monerium. It will just say, Gísli sent you 100 euros, and he typed blah, blah, blah into the memo field. So this can already be very advantageous in cases of, like, let's say you want to connect your Monerium IBAN to a centralized exchange, right? You can even use it that way, because when we are, crypto friendly, so we are not going to say reject those payments just because they originate from crypto. So you can get them to your Monerium IBAN. You can use the MetaMask or the Safe to manage the euros, and then you can either convert them back in DeFi. You can send them away back into the SEPA system, and we'll take care of everything. And the intermediary banks will only be seeing your name. So that's already something that we've seen works quite well for our users. So I'm going to be skipping some of these slides here because I just had them as backup to show you the interface here. And I'm going to stop on this slide here. So what we're essentially giving developers is, everything that I showed you, we built API first. So the interface, and I'm going to tell you about some new implementations of those web clients. Everything you saw you can build. You can streamline a process. You can create something where you focus on certain flows. You can integrate this into your DApp. You have full capacity of the underlying system. So API first, we have developer documentations. There is the sandbox that I've been using for you to test and integrate. These are mapped to 3 different test nets, so you can try out before we kind of roll this out to production. There's an SDK, a JavaScript SDK, and there's a Telegram group that is becoming pretty active, and I invite you to join the Telegram channel. So that's where we kind of support the users who are starting to integrate, have some questions. So if there's one call to action, I would say join this group. This is where we are, and we're pretty active. Link, please, Katja. Yes, sir. Coming up. I will actually show you where this can be found. So monerium.dev. Let me do this afterwards. I will need to find the link. But yes, you will get the link. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain to you what it takes for you guys to integrate the solution. So if you're using the SDK, I guess many of you are using JavaScript or TypeScript to create your clients, and we have what we call the Monerium SDK, where you can initiate the connection, and you can then, number one, you can place an order. So this is the payload that you'd send to the SDK when you're placing an order. So you need to specify the amount, the currency, the address that this money, these euros are being spent from, the chain, and then the counterpart on the other end. So this would be like Vitalik Buterin with this IBAN here, and a memo, and that's it. We take care of the rest. So with 15 lines of code, you can actually perform the things that I was showing you earlier with our web client. So this is pretty powerful. You can of course use this as a regular ERC20 token as well, just calling into the regular transfer functions and approve and all of those. They exist of course on chain as well, but here's just where the superpower lies. And on the other hand, you can also start to listen for payment notifications. So this would essentially, these 4 lines of code would essentially allow you to open up a WebSocket for both incoming and outgoing orders. So think of these like incoming payments and outgoing payments. And in this simple example, I'm just logging, whatever data I receive to the console, right? But here you would, of course, use some logic to either print those into the web client, or you would use these notifications to initiate, a new transaction, or here's your creativity is almost the limit of what is possible here. So we are arming developers, and I would argue that many, if not most, mainstream use cases will eventually require a fiat payment and a settlement token. So we can, there are some examples listed on the left-hand side. NFT marketplaces, all kinds of settlements, be it securities, tokenization of assets, cryptocurrencies, online payments, gaming, crypto speculation, invoicing, all of these at some stage will require a payment token. And it doesn't really make sense to have a payment token on a blockchain unless it also lives on the blockchain, right? So if you're trying to reconcile something that happens in a bank account, that becomes very hard. But we have actually we issue it directly into the blockchain, so you can use it like all the ERC20 tokens that you're so that you use every day. So what we essentially take care of is the ERC20 token plus the IBAN infrastructure, which allows you to receive money from anyone in Europe and initiate payouts in the other direction. And we take care of all the regulatory compliance. So you as builders, you can simply focus on building a very cool product. And the cool thing is, if we kind of try to build some of these products on a non-blockchain, in a non-blockchain environment, you will need to integrate into different systems depending on the countries that you're trying to target. Here, because it's on a blockchain, it becomes borderless, right? You don't need to integrate into all the different systems. We will actually take care of that for you. And in the future, we will be able to do the same for other currencies and other jurisdictions. So think about faster payments and the British pound, or the dollars, or Singapore dollars, or Australian dollars. So our bigger vision is to prove how cool and valuable it is for builders and teams to be able to have this power in their hands, and use this as an example. When I say this, I mean the euro for Europeans, and branch out to other jurisdictions. So think about the end goal, where you as builders just have this amazingly powerful network of payments going into all the different jurisdictions. You can sort of upload your money to the blockchain. You can do what you want to do in DeFi, and then it kind of all just seamlessly fades into the ERC20 token and the API. And just as a short note, we actually have a product vision where we say in the future there will be no off-chain API. It will all be exposed on-chain. Right now, that's not possible because we can't put personally identifiable information onto the blockchain. So there needs to be privacy. This will get solved as everything else. But what we want to end up in a future where you're just integrating directly with the blockchain, and you don't need even to think about off-chain transactions or anything like that. So now I wanted to give you maybe a few examples of how the EURe is already being integrated into other products. And for that, I'm going to open up the Request Finance application. I don't know how familiar you are with Request Finance, but you maybe covered that last time. So tell me if I need to go deep or not. I'll assume. Sorry. I will assume that you know something about it, right?
Yeah, I think even though it's covered in last workshop, perhaps there's like some hackers who didn't attend the last workshop, so you can go through perhaps basic thing, and it will always beneficial.
Okay, cool. So here we have a on-chain settlement platform that allows users to send invoices to other users, and they would all be denominated in euros or dollars, but you can actually choose, which cryptocurrency you use to pay the invoice. And the issuer of the invoice will actually choose what a cryptocurrency they would like to receive. So, let's say there's a €1,000 invoice. I can say that I want DAI, I want to receive DAI, and the sender wants to send Ether. That would mean that, whenever the payment is due, there's a snapshot taken, for the exchange rates for all the relevant assets. And, it would go into Uniswap and be, the Ether would be exchanged for DAI and placed into the wallet of the issuer of the invoice. So here I can get paid. You can send out invoices. They've also introduced some, external functions like payroll, invoices, expenses, etc. But what we essentially worked with them to do is to expand their addressable market, because what Request Finance integrated was the thing that I'm going to show you here. So under settings, I can go for payment methods, and I can add a new payment method. So I can add a Stripe account, and I can add Monerium. So in here, I'm being forwarded to the sandbox. This is, of course, live also in our production environment, but you can see that it's been branded in the black color of Request. It has the logo, and now Request is requesting from me as a user that they can read some of the details they need. I'll accept it, and I'm redirected back. And here I can now see all the different IBAN accounts that I have as a Monerium user. And I think this is the one, the IS23. This is the one I used earlier to demonstrate the pay-ins. I'm going to connect this, and what this essentially gives me is now a way to send out invoices where the payer doesn't necessarily have to be on the blockchain yet, right? So they would only see, here's an invoice for €10,000 or €1,000. You pay into this IBAN, and once it gets paid into the IBAN, it automatically gets minted as EURe, which triggers the settlement logic of the Request platform. Going into DeFi, swapping it, placing it into the wallet of the issuer, just like before. But now you don't necessarily need to have both the issuer and the payer on the blockchain. In our minds, it's obvious that 10, 15 years from here, everything will be on the blockchain. But for the next years, it will be important for us to be able to onboard users gradually, just using regular processes that they have in place. So this is one idea, and it could be interesting to integrate, because Request is a protocol. You can also create payment requests, and you can start to use Request, the protocol, and Monerium as the payment infrastructure to create some really cool solutions in the space. Okay, let's here's an example of whoever is going to pay €4 will just see the IBAN, and that's all they need. Yep. I briefly want to mention Superfluid. You may or may not be familiar with Superfluid. I'm going to switch to the Polygon chain right now. We're working on getting the EURe supported for Superfluid on both GiaDAO and the Gnosis chain. So by the time you start, it will probably be there. But if you're familiar with this protocol, it essentially allows you to stream money. Okay, so what does that mean? I have 1,000 EURe, and I can send a stream. And now I'm going to select a wallet address, some wallet address. I can select a token. I will select the EURe, and you can see the X as a suffix here. That essentially means that it's been wrapped and has now the capability of, I can send 100 euros per month. And when I start this stream and I confirm it, I have to pay this transaction once, but once it's been initiated, it will actually pay 1,000 or 100 euros per month until it stops. And I pay no extra fees for, for the duration of this stream. So I think this could be really powerful. And one of the ideas I'm going to mention a little bit later, how you can build and take these Lego bricks and piece them together to create something awesome. Okay, so now I want to go through, now I've shown you some of the integrations that others have already done. And now I want to go through some of the ideas that I would have for you guys, for the Encode hackathon. So let's just go through a product idea, and here's a problem statement, okay? As a contributor in a DAO, I get paid in SAND tokens. I want to be able to pay my rent with the SAND token to an external Euro bank account owned by my landlord. And I want to include a memo to help identify the payment, right? And when the landlord sees the payment in his bank statement, he should be able to see this is from me and see my memo. This is an end-to-end process and should be performed in a single session, completed within 5 minutes and cost me less than €1. So how cool would this be? Imagine you have an interface. You, let's say you use a bridging mechanism like Li-Fi or one of the other aggregators that sit on top of that. You can go from Polygon to the Gnosis chain, where a conversion happens using the curve pool that I mentioned earlier, and from there, once both of these transactions have been performed, a payout is made, and the landlord, sees your rent paid on time in no time. So for me, this would be this would already be better than using a centralized exchange. So you can create for this specific flow, you can create something that not only rivals but is superior to going through a centralized exchange with the SAND token, trying to get it, and your workflow is always disrupted because it takes time. You have to wait, you have to go through all the processes. But if this were to be, productized, it would just be a single step, and you'd save a lot of time as a DAO contributor who has to manage their finances today. So this is one idea. Another idea that I've been thinking about for a long time. I have a Revolut account. I only use it to be able to demonstrate, sending euros from my external bank account, which is the Revolut account, into my wallet. And I've been thinking about what would it take to recreate this experience in a decentralized manner, okay? So what I mean by that. So what does Revolut actually do for me? It allows me to send and receive payments in euros. I can swap them to other currencies, and in some cases, I can get some kind of yield. And I think a small hackathon team could replicate this experience by embedding the Monerium payment infrastructure, where you can send and receive real euros, right, into your wallet, your programmable wallet. You can swap it for USDC or DAI, whatever USD denominated stablecoin there is, and you can actually place it in some of the pools to earn yield. And it all just needs a very good sort of product design, product team to capture those Lego bricks and create an experience that is not, I would say, superior to Revolut. And I would love to see this this come to fruition. And the third idea that I had for you guys is, here's another problem statement. As a company, I want to pay my employees by streaming euros on chain to their wallets. I mean, you saw earlier how you can initiate the payment. Superfluid is also a protocol, so you don't need to use that interface. You can swap it for your own. But in the case where the employee doesn't have, an address, I would like that to be flushed periodically and batched to his bank account, like once a day or something. Like, I think this could be really cool and sort of demonstrate some of the functionalities that you're not able to do on, let's say, in the traditional banking system, while also having a fallback mechanisms for employees that are not yet on chain. So I think it's really important to create these superior experiences, but allow users to gradually onboard and see the benefits and actually have the incentive to install a MetaMask or Safe or whatever wallet you'd like to use. So that kind of wraps up my 3 ideas. Here are some links to, if you want to find out more, I would encourage you to go to monerium.dev. I'll be sure to find, if some of my team members could send the invite link for the Telegram channel. If not, I will try to figure out and send it here in the chat. There are, of course, like the standard developer documentation for the Gnosis chain and all of that. You should probably already be familiar with that. And so that kind of concludes my 45 minutes. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I am here.
Thank you very much for the amazing workshop. There are some questions in our question board. Perhaps some of them may have been answered during the workshop, but just as a recap, let's start with the first one by Busayo. It's like, can you kindly explain what Flora does again? Does Flora receive the fund from your crypto wallet and send to your bank account?
Yeah, okay. So what Flora does again, yeah. So does Flora receive the funds from your crypto wallet and send to your bank account? So I think in the case, in the sort of theoretical case that we had earlier, maybe I can just share my screen again. No, here, share my. So I think what we had here was a payout, essentially, to Flora. So in that case, I am imagining that Flora has a bank account somewhere else. She doesn't necessarily have a crypto wallet. She may or may not have. But anyway, she would like to receive real euros into her bank account somewhere else. So I have euros in my MetaMask wallet, and I used the send money button, and you can use the SDK or the API to initiate all of this. So I used the send money here. I said I would want to send Flora 100 euros. This is her IBAN address. I select the country where she resides. Let's say she's in France. I type in her name, Flora, don't know. And then I can sort of send the payment. What happens here is the 100 of the 1,500 euros that I have in my wallet, I'm now going to burn 100 of them. And in a few seconds, Flora will have 100 euros in her bank account. So it's an off-ramp in this sense, but it's so much more. So does this answer the question?
Thank you. I was just saying that, okay, Busayo said that it does. Thank you very much. And okay. Then next question going to be from Nas, like, does Monerium charges anything for these transfers? If yes, then how much and how exactly?
Okay, perfect. I am just, why didn't I say this up front? That's weird to me. I think I had it somewhere here. So going back all the way back. Here we go. Free to use, right?
Uh-huh.
So you can, as a user, it doesn't matter if you're a user or if you're a developer. Right now, we don't charge anything And we don't have any intentions of changing that. We want to try to reduce the friction for users adopting this technology as much as possible. So no subscription fees, no monthly fees, no transaction fees, other than, you know, everything that, or let's say, if you take the EURe and you want to use a pool to swap it, you of course pay the transaction fees to the miners, but none of it goes to Monerium, right? So it's just regular transactions. Yeah, so that probably answers the question. Mm-hmm. And maybe the reason why we can do this, why is this sustainable? It's sustainable for us because our revenue comes from the safeguarded funds. So we can park those safeguarded funds in high quality liquid assets or with other banking institutions and receive, let's say, 1% on that. That's the reason why we can offer our service for free and be sustainable nonetheless.
Thank you very much. As we are in this slide, I think there is another question which could be perhaps answered is, what other chains are you planning to add next? What is the timeline for that?
Yeah, very good question. So briefly speaking, we want to be on all chains that have usage, both EVM chains and non-EVM chains. We've discovered that there are certain limitations which mostly have to do with so from a technology standpoint, it's not that hard for us to go, to other chains, right? However, there needs to be liquidity, and that's probably the biggest obstacle. So we want to make sure that we already have very good liquidity on the chains that we already support before we kind of start to dilute our focus to all the different places. Having said that, we're also going to be announcing something very cool, which we haven't. This is not public yet, so you get the first sort of insights here. So we're going to allow cross-chain transactions. So you can go from one chain to the other, either by using a bridging protocol or our internal sort of burn and mint. So we can actually go from one chain to the other in 2 block times. And this could be like as little as 15 seconds from Polygon to Gnosis or back. So that's one thing. And we are actively also working with some of the bridging protocols that may actually take us to more chains faster, which we won't necessarily have IBAN solutions connected to them, but you could then, let's say Avalanche or something, could be bridged using whatever protocol, bridging protocol. It could be Connext, could be something else, and you could go from your IBAN account to Gnosis, and from there you could use a bridging protocol. At some states we'll have everything interconnected, but for the time being we're going to rely on bridges to help us get there faster.
Thank you very much. And then there is another question. Could you explain how Monerium protects privacy for on-chain and bank?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, we do want to have, in a future state, there will be enough on-chain privacy for, let's say you can just read who's the counterparty here? Like, who is the sender of this payment? When this payment is or the EURes are being minted on-chain, like, who is the counterparty? Who actually sent those euros and what did they say? Right now, for the exact reasons that you're asking about, we only keep that in the off-chain API. So you need to be authenticated on behalf of the user to be able to read those kinds of information. So when you saw me go through the authentication flow for Request Finance, I was explicitly allowing Request Finance to read some of the stuff. So you grant permission to protocols and platforms that you'd like to have some service or use their services. So that's the way we do it today, but we do envision to be able to do that completely on chain, where it's going to be encrypted and only the relevant parties are going to be able to decrypt it. Yeah.
So I think in connection to that, I think similar wave of question is, does Monerium conducts KYC before giving IBAN to a user? If yes, how long does it take and who does that?
Yeah, so yes, we are, even though we're sort of, crypto DeFi natives, we are also a regular financial company. So we have all the same obligations. So before giving out an IBAN, a user needs to go through the KYC process. We take care of that. We have an in-house department doing that. We are actually, we're always trying to, improve the process and reduce the time and all of that. And, in certain cases, I think we can be pretty proud to say, like, after the user has sort of started the process, it takes about 5 minutes, maybe in the best case, to collect all the data. If you happen to live in countries that have like really good, like we rely on a third party there where we can sort of authenticate, like if this identity documentation is real, it can be looked up in databases and so on. So then it can be just immediate. So end to end, 5 to 10 minutes. If this is, let's say, a company with a very complicated legal structure, that's going to be something else. So I cannot give a definitive answer here, but if you're just a regular user, try it and give me your feedback.
Sounds good. And then another question is, how should I read this? Like, your EURe is backed.
Yeah. Okay. So how is the EURe backed? Okay, that's a very good question. So if you take the category of stablecoins, you essentially have 3 mechanisms for it. You can be fiat backed, like USDC. You can be crypto backed, like DAI, or you could be algorithmic. And we haven't seen any algorithmic stablecoin succeed so far, but who knows? Maybe that works. So we are in the first category. So we are fully backed. So 100% backed in fiat terms. So whenever somebody sends me 1,000 euros, we do not lend this money out. We just safeguard the 1,000 euros so that they can be easily redeemed, when somebody needs them. So that's, in stark contrast to a bank, which may actually lend out that 1,000 euros multiple times. And when the time comes to redeem it, they don't necessarily have it. And so you have to have sort of an insurance scheme for that. On top of that, on top of the 100% that we safeguard, we actually have to provide by law 2% of our own capital. So we are over collateralized in fiat terms and ready and redeemable on demand by law. So, if we want to go into sort of the security here, I can proudly say, and I mean it, I think this is more secure than a bank account. It has different protections. A bank account has, an insurance for the first 100,000 euros. But when you've been in our situation, we come from Iceland, where, during the great financial crisis in 2008, not one bank or 2 banks, all the banks collapsed. And there was no money in the insurance scheme. Like, that was the first thing to go bankrupt. So what we set out was to build the most robust, the most secure representation of money on chain, and I think we have the best.
Awesome. So as lucky we're running out of the time, there's going to be like one last question, and perhaps like we can continue discussion sessions over the Discord channel. Is it open to only users in Europe or any part of the world?
Right now, we can only onboard European users, whether companies or individuals, or people, or actually also people residing in Europe. So if you have a permanent residence in Europe, we can also onboard you. This opens up the market to 500 million persons and a number of companies. But as I said earlier, our global ambition is to be able to offer this amazing, like I still get goosebumps, like when I talk about, and if I have time to show you this, the transfers with real money, like when users get it, they go completely bananas. We would like to be able to offer these services globally, but one step at a time.
Thank you very much. So today's workshop, I feel so sorry, but we need to like finish today. But there are going to be like different opportunity that you can have a question that like you can ask questions on Discord server, so that we're going to bother in Monerium team that they can answer for you. I think in the chat, yeah, people are saying like thank you for the presentation. So again, Gísli, thank you for coming today and giving an amazing workshop. We are going to in contact with the like Monerium team, so that if hackers have questions, like they will be in contact with you. I hope that everyone gonna be enjoying working on their project using Monerium. Okay, that's pretty much it for today, everyone. Next workshop gonna be, let me quickly check. Next workshop gonna be with the EtherSpot team, how to easily integrate account abstraction into your dev with the EtherSpot, which is going to be happening tomorrow. So stay tuned, everyone. And let's continue building amazing project together, so that we are going to have a goosebump in the finale. Thank you, everyone.
Good luck, everybody.